Who didn't adopt at-home wellness habits or realize the need for them during the pandemic? It became obvious that your healthcare is your business. The bio for my guest is not going to sound like that of other Flipping 50 guests. You are in the right place. Stay with me. In fact, if you're new, you may be wondering if this is the right podcast, the one about fitness and health for women in menopause. And that would be a yes. And I encourage you to stick around. John is you. He's your husband or your partner. He's your employer or your boss or your brother. His story isn't unusual. And for those who aren't tuned in yet to functional medicine and health, lifestyle medicine, or self-directed lab tests, this story is still a daily occurrence. John didn't just solve his own problem. He came up with a solution for others too, maybe you. My guest, John Carter, is a serial entrepreneur. He built 4 startups over the last 23 years, including successful 3 exits. John has raised $100 million in venture capital and hired hundreds of employees. That entrepreneurial lifestyle eventually took its toll, and he started having challenges with low energy, brain fog, trouble sleeping. I mean, one might ask, are you in menopause? These problems prevented John from consistently showing up as his best self. After talking to friends, he realized that these issues were actually pretty common. John learned that through lab work, he could identify the root cause of some of the problems and improve them, but that wasn't going to happen with his conventional doctor. After searching a lot, he eventually found a functional doctor who was able to identify through expensive blood work that John had nutrient deficiencies and high toxin levels. So John adjusted his supplements, nutrition, lifestyle accordingly, and within a month, he was feeling the best he had felt in years. This inspired John to start Vessel and use new technology to empower people to track and improve their own wellness, at-home wellness. So stay tuned. This is my interview with guest John Carter. John, thanks so much for joining me today.
Deborah, thanks for having me on.
All right. Well, I gave the listeners an earful about your story, and I think a few of them could probably already relate, but also definitely they can relate no matter on what level to frustration with how they're feeling, maybe the answers they're getting from the medical community, and wondering though what steps they take next. So talk a little bit about some of the challenges that you faced when you were trying to get to the root of your inconsistent energy.
Yeah, great question. So I am an entrepreneur. It's in my blood. As a kid, I think I was 10 or 12 years old, I had a hot dog stand at the end of my driveway that the police shut down on the end of day 1 because I didn't have a food permit. And I was just one of those weird kids that was already trying to build a business at a pretty
Clearly,
young
those
age.
guys didn't have kids, right?
Exactly, right. And yeah, I think the cop even kind of scared me enough to make me cry. My dad had to come out and defend me. And I was like, can't you sell hot dogs? Can't you have a kid sell hot dogs? It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, no, they shut me down. And that was the beginning of a long journey of starting companies and dealing with stressful situations. In college years, I started a company, dropped out of college to work on it full time. And I was very broke at the time. I was basically living off top ramen, which probably led me to some of these health issues that I had later in life. I mean, I'm talking breakfast, lunch, dinner, that broke until I finally started to get some success with business. And I just never stopped working on building companies from 1920 when I started my first one in college till about my mid 30s, maybe going into my 40s. I started having issues with just how I was feeling and performing. So I definitely had energy drops. I would go into like this food coma after I would eat lunch or any kind of big meal, maybe dinner sometimes as well. And so it'd be weird. I'd have energy in the morning. I'd eat a lunch. I'd sort of dip down until like 3 or 4. I'd start to get some more energy. I'd eat dinner and then I'd fade again. That was frustrating because in my 20s, I had like endless energy and I could eat top ramen and still have endless energy. And then, I had other issues with like memory. I started to forget things that had happened weeks or months ago. And I even was forgetting things that had happened, years and years ago. So kind of short and long term. And then the last one was I was having trouble sleeping. I was waking up in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., and just my brain wouldn't turn off, just going and going and going with all these ideas and problems I was trying to solve in the middle of the night, which is a bad idea to solve problems in the middle of the night. But yeah, those challenges were rough. And the first step I did was like some Googling, and that's a very unpersonalized. A lot of answers you don't know what you can trust. And there was like WebMD was kind of high level, and then I'd go to like these more specialized people, and some of it seemed right, but I wasn't sure if it was backed by research, and it just was really challenging. So Dr. Google didn't really serve me very well. Then I went to my conventional doctor, and they just basically chalked it up to I'm just getting old. I'm just getting older, and these are things that happen naturally as you age, and which I didn't buy because I have friends that are 50s, 60s who are perfect memories and like machines on energy, and I was like, I don't think that's right. And they also my conventional doctor tried to prescribe me medication for my sleep challenges, like right off the bat. I don't know if it's Xanax or one of those sleep aids. And I was like, no, I don't want to go on medication either. I was like, can't you kind of like run some tests, like figure out what's going on inside my body and do something for me specifically instead of these kind of one size fits all solutions? And they really couldn't. Apparently they don't get a lot of training in nutrition as a conventional doctor, and just in general aren't doing blood draws around things like nutritional panels. So at the time, and this was about 10 years ago, functional medicine, the term, and even just wellness wasn't very well. It wasn't out there a lot. I didn't have a lot of my friends or family who had ever experienced anything like that. But I did have a couple of kind of edge case quantified self friends who were like, you should go get your blood drawn, figure out what's going on inside your body, find a functional medicine doctor, and get really specific here. And sure enough, I did. I found some. It was hard to find back then, and there's a lot more now. But I found a doctor who really wanted to understand me. They asked me a bunch of questions about my struggles, my behaviors, what I was eating, things like that. And we did a full blood draw, and I learned about a couple of really interesting things. I learned I was low in magnesium, which was potentially impacting my sleep and can impact mood and so many other things. So that was a big one. And apparently, most of us are deficient in magnesium, but we just haven't had that test done on us, so we just don't know. So they turned me on to a really high quality supplement and some foods that are really rich in magnesium. And within, I think, even just a matter of weeks, I started feeling better and sleeping better just from that change alone. So that was kind of a low hanging fruit. The other one was the memory. They found out that I was really high in mercury levels because I was eating sushi because I was under the impression that fish was healthy for you, omega 3s and things like that. And generally they are, but it also has a lot of mercury, especially the larger fish like tuna. And I was doing a lot of tuna in my sushi. I love ahi. I love sushi in general. And so I had to cut back on that. I had to do some detoxing, and it was wild. My memory not only came back to where I could remember things that had happened recently and people's names and stuff like that really well, but I was even remembering things that I had completely forgotten, like trips that I'd taken, 7, 8 years ago, vivid details about it. It was awesome. My brain was just in this fog from the mercury poisoning. And apparently even big giants that we all know and love, like Tony Robbins, who has a whole team of support people around him, he had severe mercury poisoning because he also didn't know that it was bad. And he was eating swordfish like every day for lunch. So mercury poisoning can happen into, some of us that have even a lot of really smart people around us. I just don't think it's generally known how dangerous that is and how much it affects your mind. So fix that. Memory came back. And then the last one was the energy levels fluctuating throughout the day. And my functional doctor recommended trying out intermittent fasting. And I eat a lot. I'm a tall, skinny guy, and my body just seems to burn through food and calories like crazy. So I eat a lot. So this idea that I would intermittent fast, I would eat for dinner at 8 o'clock and not eat again until noon, just seemed like insanely hard for me to do. And it was the first couple of days, even the first couple of weeks, I was like stomach grumbling, like miserable, unhappy, hungry or hangry. Yeah, I was hangry all morning until I could eat, at lunch. But sure enough, my body had adjusted to it over a couple of weeks. And now I have energy all day. I still intermittent fast like 10 years later, and I feel amazing. I've had some friends try it out and it not worked for them. So I think this is definitely a person to person experience. But for me, it's great. I drink coffee now when I want to for fun, maybe once or twice a week. And I used to drink coffee every day just to get by. So it's really improved my energy levels. And just that was the beginning of a wellness journey for me. And it's always something with my body gets a little off and I'll have additional trouble with sleeping or something else, but I'll really try to figure out what's going on inside my body and adjust. And it's been an awesome journey because if you show up as your best self, so many of us are walking around at 70, 60, 80% of what we could be because our energy levels are low or our mood is off because we're not getting enough sleep or our memory's not there. So we can't remember some of the things, some of the lessons that we already learned. That can impact everything. How I show up as a CEO, how I show up as a father, how I show up as a friend. It's so impactful. So for me, everything about my functional doctor experience was incredible, was life-changing. There was just one thing that I wanted to fix. It was pretty expensive. The functional doctors that I saw were, the one I see now is $500 an hour. Worth it, but expensive. And just in general, hard to sometimes find the right ones. So that was the drive behind Vessel. I wanted to figure out a way to get people to experience some of what functional medicine can offer. You can't replace a full blood draw. That's got so many interesting data points. But with what Vessel's trying to do, creating a really cost-effective and easy way for you to get an insight into some of the things like magnesium levels. Our mission is to bring that experience I had to millions and tens of millions of people a lot easier, a lot more cost effectively. And then eventually they can go a lot deeper if they'd like to.
So cool. So very cool. Do you mind if we back up a little bit? I'd like to kind of unpack. So the mercury testing, and, if we're repeating, I think this one is okay, but that's not a normal test. So was it that you had some really wise doctors that knew the signs and symptoms that we need to test this? Because I think for our listeners, this is also something, I know I've got a lot of tuna eaters out there. Eat tuna out of the can is so convenient, right? And, there's been enough articles and blogs to make people think twice about that. But I got to say that convenience really speaks very loudly. And so a lot of women will still do that if it's sitting in the pantry and they're hungry. So talk about the mercury testing. What prompted that?
Yeah. And first I'll just say the disclaimer too, like I still eat tuna. You don't have to cut it out entirely, and your body has a natural way of processing it and getting rid of the mercury. You just can't eat it too often. So I was doing sushi like 1 to 3 times a week. And so now I have sushi about once every 2 weeks or once a week even sometimes. And I just, I do a lot more salmon now. And I do love salmon sushi almost as much as I love something with tuna, ahi sushi as well, but mixed in a lot more salmon. And I will still have some tuna, just a couple slices here and there. And I've been tracking my mercury levels and they're in a good level. So you don't have to kill it completely. The good news is you just have to cut back, get to a healthy space, and then you can have it, every once in a while, and your body will naturally get rid of it. The doctor who had me test for it, I think it was just because of 2 things. I mean, the survey or questions that they asked me when I first went in was around what was I eating and what were the issues that I was having. And they just kind of put 2 and 2 together. I said, the issues I'm having is around memory. I used to be very good with names. I remember in high school, I knew every single person's name, like in the whole school. We had like 600 kids. And it was just something I could hear a name once or twice and I was good. And now in adulthood, I could barely remember a name of somebody I met, 5 minutes ago, even if I repeat it, 5 times. And so I explained that story, and then we got into the diet, and the doctor asked, what kind of foods are you eating? What's your breakfast, lunch, and dinner typically like? And so I explained that I have sushi, 1 to 3 times a week. And I think they just put 2 and 2 together and said, you might have mercury poisoning. That might be it. So yeah, it was a little combo of the question from the questions they asked, I think.
So great. And just for listeners who are reflecting back, so very recently we did a podcast episode with Dr. Sanda in dentistry, and we were talking about mercury. And so testing might be a good idea for some of you who think, maybe me too. I'd love to know, what was your protocol? What was your process for detox? What did you do?
Yeah, well, first I had to kind of just stop eating sushi for a while to let
Right.
my body run its natural detox process. And then I used a supplement called Quicksilver. I believe it was called
Yep.
Quicksilver about 10 years
Yep.
ago now. But see, look, my memory still works all these years
Yes.
later. And yeah, it was a combination of that, just cutting back on the sushi and entirely until the levels got to a healthy level, and then I could redo it. And then taking this Quicksilver kind of natural, detox, and then test it again. I think somewhere around 3 months later, and the levels were coming down. I don't remember exactly how long it took, somewhere in the 3 to 6 month range, and then I was back in a good spot, and I could resume, sushi once a week or once every 2 weeks, and just mixing in a lot more salmon because I love sushi. I don't want to give it up entirely.
Right. I know. Just give me a good green river. Okay. What did you notice first, like sooner than, you testing 3 months later? Did your memory improve prior to
It
that?
did. Yeah. There's like a fog. It felt like the fog was lifted pretty quickly. And I will say I've since been doing even more things for my memory. As I mentioned, this is kind of like a wellness journey, right? It's not like, okay, I test myself once, I fixed a bunch of things. I'm constantly trying to optimize the way I feel and show up. And I learned about, other fish like sardines that are really rich in omega 3s. I've started eating those 2 to 3 times a week. I do sauna now as well,
Mm-hmm.
1 to 3 times a week. And my memory is literally getting better year over year as I'm introducing these really good practices of eating less mercury, detoxing in things like the sauna, getting more omega 3s in through things like through food, not just supplements. And it's just, and I also do a lot of blueberries now as well, which, there's some studies that look pretty promising around some of the memory boosting capabilities there. And it's just working. I just have a much better memory than I've had for 20 years. It feels kind of like almost back in high school, not quite that good. I don't know, 600 names would be pretty hard, but it feels great. I mean, like I said, I'm remembering trips and things that I did that I had pretty much forgotten, and generally can pull up things like Quicksilver. I mean, that was just a supplement I took 10 years ago. I would
Mm-hmm.
never have been able to remember that, before all of this wellness protocol.
So good. Okay. So talk a little bit more. So obviously, your health journey affected your work in that it maybe was a pivot point for doing something new, but how else did it affect your work?
Yeah, I mean, everything we do, every relationship we have is impacted by the way that we feel. If I get a good night's sleep and I've been exercising and taking care of myself, I show up with my relationships really focus more on them and really coming from a place of love and understanding and patience. And it just helps everything go better. When I don't get a good night's sleep or when I'm low energy or bad mood, I can show up in a place of impatience, in a place of resentment over all these things that seem to be going wrong, blame, other things like that. And it's hard to calculate the impact it makes because everything we do is driven through our relationships, and those impacts just kind of spread out to other relationships, and it just goes on and on and on. So it's impossible to calculate, but I can just say it's hugely impactful. I've had a lot of comments from people who I've been working with for a long time that have just said, we can tell that you're trying and improving with the stuff you're doing on wellness. And I do mindfulness as well at the same time as I work on my wellness. So the two combined are just really a beautiful thing. And yeah, it's just kind of made everything better. It doesn't necessarily mean I've been wildly successful, although I am really thankful for the success I've had just because of wellness and mindfulness. But it still has ups and downs. I think, just in general, that's the way things go. But the ups and downs, I can handle them so much better. And generally, I'm so much more calm and content and generally more happy when I'm in a really good state of well-being, both physically and mentally.
So good. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question. Given what you're doing now with your work and kind of making health something that listeners, for instance, can take into their own hands, can take control of, which feels really good in a time when we feel like we don't have control of way too many things. But why is it that you think in 2022, so many people struggle with energy and focus in spite of an abundance of information?
Yeah, maybe it's because of abundance of information.
Yeah, yeah.
It's right. It's hard to know what tip or tactic to follow. There's so many people telling you this helps and this helps and that helps. And there are some incredible people like yourself that when they give research backed tips, that's incredibly helpful because I think you really do need to follow the research and the studies. But at this at the same time, even more impactful is personalized. Everybody's body is so unique, and what may work really well for somebody may not work really well for somebody else. And you see that in the research studies. They'll say like 70 out of 100 participants noticed an improvement here. It's never like 100%. So, very rarely. So, generally speaking, you've got to figure out what works for you. And one of the best ways to do that is to do some kind of testing like a vessel urine based test or a blood draw or a combination therein. Even saliva tests can provide a lot of insights. Start to learn and understand your body, and then you can try out things that are targeted based on those test results. Even then, you're not going to have a 100% match. You might get a recommendation that doesn't necessarily work for you, but you'll be picking from a smaller group of recommendations, and you can find the ones that really work a lot easier, and then you get to that optimized state.
So tell us a little bit more about, say, an experience with vessel health and how you do that, kind of filter down.
Yeah. So as I was saying before, I wanted to bring this idea of personalized wellness out to the masses. It's hard for some people to access because of cost, because of the time commitment to find the right doctor, to go to the labs to get your test. So Vessel is kind of like a starter package, if you will, into personalized wellness. We sell test cards, a membership test card, start as low as $20 a month. So pretty affordable. I think our most popular package is like 30, $40 a month. And what you get is a series of test cards. These test cards are about half the size of your phone. You pee on the bottom of the test card, and then you scan it with your phone using our app. We're going to immediately read the test card and give you results so that you don't have to mail it into a lab or wait days. The whole process is less than 5 minutes. And the results we're going to give you are basically about 10 different markers. There's magnesium, vitamin C. Those are big ones on the nutrient level. We also have calcium, sodium. We track urinary tract. So if you have any UTIs or infections like that, ketones, a bunch of really great data that's going to talk to you about what's going on inside your body. That's the first step. And you'll get all of those levels, either you're low, good, or high immediately, which is kind of a cool experience right off the bat. But that's really where the Vessel algorithm then kicks in. We're going to ask you a bunch of questions, just like my functional medicine doctor did when I went in to see him. And he asked me, "What's your challenges?" I said, "Sleep." Then he started diving into sleep. Is it falling asleep, staying asleep? We'll do the same thing on Vessel. We'll start asking you details about your issues, details about some of your behaviors, what kind of food you're eating, diets you might be on, etc. It doesn't take too long, a few minutes on the quiz, and then we're going to give you a personalized program around foods that would be really good for you to eat or potentially avoid, supplements that would be good for you, and lifestyle changes. So this can be things on the lifestyle side like intermittent fasting, yin yoga, stuff like that. On the food side, some whole foods that are rich in some of the nutrients you might be low in. And on the supplement side, really high quality supplements. It's just the right dosage that we would recommend for you to get your levels in a really good spot. So you get this personalized plan similar to what you would get at a functional medicine doctor. I would say the disclaimer is minus, it's not as comprehensive. A blood draw can track dozens and dozens of markers. We're doing about 10 here, and they're urine based. There's certain things we can't track in urine, like vitamin A, E, and D, because those are water soluble. But again, you're going to get a good initial starting point for your personalized wellness, and you're going to get a starter plan. And one more other thing that we add on top of that plan is nutritionists on chat. So inside of the app, there is a team of nutritionists standing by, and you can ask any question you want as many times as you want. It's unlimited as part of your membership. And you can ask them, what should I eat for dinner? Here's my results. They can access your results and give you specialized recommendations. You can ask them what kind of supplement would be best for magnesium levels if I'm low. How long is it going to take for me to get my levels up? Any kind of new issues that come up, you can ask them about. It's like your own little team of coaches there to support you on your wellness journey. So that's Vessel in a nutshell. And what we're trying to do there is help people improve their energy levels, improve their sleep levels, improve digestion, weight, mood. There's about 10 goals you can kind of pick, and we'll help you. We'll help you hopefully feel better in those areas.
Very cool. Very cool bringing it to the people. So question for my listeners is, as I was listening to you, I'm thinking, what do they want me to ask? So I'm going to ask this. So you mentioned there's $20 a month, maybe $30 or $40 a month. These monthly fees is this just a month to month, not an annual or minimum commitment?
Yeah, you can do month to month. You can also save a little bit more if you commit for longer. And the difference in price, $20 a month is for a single test card each month. And about 20 or 30% of our users do that. The majority of our users test once a week because it's so easy. It takes less than 5 minutes. And those are the $30 to $40 plans. And what they generally do with that is test initially, and then they track it each week to see if their levels are improving. And if not, they're adjusting their plan along the way to try to get those levels up. You can always change plans. You can start at 4 cards a month and move down to 1 card a month once you've got things handled and you're feeling a little better. You can even do a new program we just launched called Flex. Vessel Flex is where you just pay $10 to $15 a month, $10 if you go month to month, $15 if you pay for the year up front. And you get full access to the app. You get the food recommendations, supplement recommendations, lifestyle recommendations, and you get the unlimited chat with nutritionists, all for $10 to $15 a month. And then you just buy the cards as you need them. That's been incredibly popular, and we just launched that in June. So brand new program. And yeah, that's typically how our members utilize it.
Great. Okay. Did I miss this? How much is a card?
So if you're doing the cards come with the membership. So if you're testing once a month, it's $20 a card because we'll send you 1 card. You also get full access to the app and the nutritionist. So it's kind of blended together, the cost. And if you do, I think we have a $40 a month for 4 test cards. So then it's as low as $10 per test card if you do higher volume. It depends on how many cards you buy. The price kind of varies between $10 to $20 is a good way to think about it.
Okay, so let me clarify. So I thought you just described the Flex plan and you buy the cards as you need to, kind of a la carte?
Yeah. Those exactly range from $10 to $20 depending on how much you buy them. I think we can sell an individual card for $20 and a 4-pack for like $60 or I think $60. We just launched it in the last couple of weeks, so it's a new program for us, but it gets the cost down if you buy more.
Love it. Okay. So this goes back to, why so many people struggle with focus and yeah, abundance of information. But then there's the question that someone who's been coaching people for 38 years knows very well that even presented with the information specific to them, compliance is a problem that we all suffer with. And I include myself in this. I know better, but that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to make the right choice today. So I love this opportunity to test weekly to get some immediate gratification. What difference are my lifestyle changes, my nutrition changes having? So talk a little bit about, do you see some statistics? Am I asking you a question you can answer? With people who are testing more frequently, are they also the ones who are getting better results?
Generally speaking, yes. The more data you get, the more motivated I think you become. And that was a really interesting lesson that we learned because you're right, adherence, like somebody can tell you need to eat these healthy foods. But that's not very motivating. And a lot of us just can't do that just being told to do it alone. What we found in our customer testimonials was people said, look, I knew I should do these good things, these healthy things. But it wasn't until I actually saw the data. For example, my magnesium level was low, and I read a little bit about it in your app, and I learned that magnesium impacts mood and sleep and energy, that I said, okay, well, maybe I can feel better if I do eat these foods. And now I can see the direct correlation. So they eat the healthy foods that we're recommending, and not only are they getting their magnesium levels up and feeling better around sleep and energy and mood, but we've had people saying, like, I'm also losing weight in the process because I'm eating the healthier whole foods that I probably should have been eating all along. I think it's just very motivating for us when we can see, okay, here's the reason why we need to do this thing, data driven, and here's the potential benefits on the other side that are waiting for us if we can get those data points in the right place. It's almost like a map or a game to get you to your endpoint. So yeah, we've gotten a lot of testimonials that data really moves people. The other thing we do that's, I think, important, I remember when I went to my functional medicine doctor, the first one, this is 10 years ago, so a lot of them have a lot better programs, but they basically wrote my program on a napkin. I was like, here's what I want you to do, And I was like, okay, I'll put this in my little, I'll put it on a Post-it or something on my fridge. With an app, you get, on Vessel, for example, you have a today page, and that today page has on it the activities you're supposed to do for the day, but it also has lessons. We're going to educate you along the way, and we're also going to tell you what to do. And so you're getting educated and you know what to do, and you can check off the things that you've done, and it creates a little confetti explosion, and we track how good you're doing on, sticking to your plan. So there's a little gamification and just convenience that help you stay to that plan a lot better than the original Post-it note that I got on napkin back in the day. So that's also helpful.
So good. Okay. So in our last couple of minutes here, I would love to come back to kind of you. We started with your story and your whole journey, and love how you've turned this into something that can help make it so much more accessible to so many people. So first of all, thank you and congrats on doing that. Are there one or two habits that you would say these have helped you increase your energy the most?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The intermittent fasting for my body type has been a game changer on daily energy. I mean, it just basically cut me off the dependency on coffee that I had, which is pretty powerful. I think another one that I've been doing recently that has been so simple and so powerful is a morning walk in nature. So I get up and basically first thing in the morning, before I get started on work or anything, is I just put on some clothes and I go outside, and there's this little like ravine that I can walk through, with a lot of trees, and it feels like nature, even though I live in the city of San Diego. And I do like a 20, 30-minute walk, and it does a couple things for me. First off, I'm in nature, and just being around nature, there's tons of studies that show that it's just great for mood and calmness and just generally feeling better, and I think even energizing. The walk itself gets the blood flowing, gets the heart going, so that's really powerful. I'm also setting my circadian rhythm, so getting out in the sun and not staying indoors in the morning is training my body. So I noticed as soon as I started doing it, like within a week, I was sleeping better and deeper. I use an Oura ring to track my sleep, sleeping better and deeper and more consistent to bedtimes, and waking up more consistently at the exact time. In fact, now it's like clockwork. I literally fall asleep at the exact same time and wake up at the exact same time without an alarm because of that morning walk, because it's kind of setting that rhythm. And because I get really good sleep, I have really good energy. And the last benefit of the morning walk is mental. I'm able to just think. I don't listen to podcasts. I don't do anything except just listen to the sounds of nature and let my mind wander. And I'm able to go deep on some personal thoughts. I'm able to solve business challenges. Those walks are invaluable to me now for kind of giving my mind a break and letting my mind kind of do what it wants to do and figure out what it wants to figure out. It's a great alone time that has all these health benefits and energy benefits as well.
I love it. I love it. John, thanks so much for being here. Where is the best place for listeners to get more John Carter?
Absolutely. And one thing I do want to mention that I forgot to mention earlier, for anyone who's interested in checking out Vessel, we now, for the first time ever, are offering a free trial. So you can actually try it at vesselhealth.com. and there's a free trial right on the main website. So you just click on that and you pay like $5.95 in shipping, and we'll send you a card. You can test it. You can find out what's going on inside your body. If you like it, it can turn into a membership. If you don't, you can cancel it. That's perfectly fine. So basically $6, you get to try a personalized wellness test at home. And if you guys want to get a hold of me, best way is probably Twitter. I love spending time on there. Don't post a lot, but I read a lot. And you can reach me at John Carter, and it's spelled a little weird. It's Jon, so no H in the John, and then Carter is spelled with a D, so it's CARD as in David, ER.
So good. All right. That's a no-brainer, everybody. I think, easy way to step in and try. And now it's your turn. Listeners, if you've got a question that you think I didn't ask, you can put your comment or your question at flipping50.com/at-home wellness. What are you waiting for? Let's start Flip to 50 today.